What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Among the Fence, my YouTube channel where I do music reviews. My name is Aaron. Today we're going to be checking out the new album Tear Me to Pieces by the band Story of the Year. And I can't believe that I have not done a review on this band yet. They are a post-hardcore pop-punk band from Missouri. They formed in 1995 under the name 67 North. Then they changed it to Big Blue Monkey in 1998, and they released a few EPs, one of them in 2022 titled Story of the Year, and that's when they changed their name. Tear Me to Pieces is their 6th studio album released since then. Page Avenue, I guess you could say their debut album from 2003, is considered to be a fan favorite, and since then their sound has been kind of linear. They've tried out a few things here and there. It all sounds good, but they haven't really had like a huge breakout album quite like Page Avenue since then. And I don't know. I kind of forget about this band, but when they popped up, I listened to their singles and I really enjoyed them quite a bit. So it got me kind of excited for this. And I feel like Tear Me to Pieces might be, I don't know, maybe one of their breakout albums. So yeah, let's jump into it. The album opens up with the title track song, Tear Me to Pieces, which starts off on the chorus with a groovy acoustic guitar, then erupts with this huge wall of sound. Before going to the verse, it's mostly drum and vocal forward. And then the second time the chorus comes around, the guitar is replaced by a distorted guitar, and it's followed by a breakdown-inspired post-chorus. The lyrics are pretty relatable to anybody who's overwhelmed by everything that's going on in the world. Then we have the second song, Real Life, which has a shimmering guitar and a flashy drum beat. The chorus has this classic pop punk kind of dropout where the only thing that's left is the acoustic guitar and intimate vocals, and then the passion just blasts off about halfway through. The hook is so good, and the whole chorus will get stuck in your head. The distorted vocals really help bring the punch along with the guitar melody. Afterglow comes in with a heavy intro and drum-centered verse. The chorus is really good thanks to the rhythm, the bass, and of course the hook. And the bridge works really well. It's kind of more of a breakdown though. The only issue I have with this song is I feel like the whole Afterglow thing has been overdone. If you've watched my last 3 to 4 videos, there's something about Afterglow in every single one of them, which is kind of weird because we go through a mixture of different genres and it just seems to constantly be popping up. Then we have the song Dead and Gone, which has more of a traditional bounciness to it, mixed with harsh vocals that works really well. The chorus doesn't hold back either, especially with the lyrics that's saying it's basically too late to say sorry. The bridge is synth driven with a lot of layering, and it works really well with all the passion coming out in the song. The intro to War kind of reminds me a little bit of Architect, specifically in the production and the riff. And now that I think of it, actually this whole song the whole thing kind of reminds me of Architects. And it makes sense why this song did so well. The first 2 verses are basically just a build up into the chorus, which is a huge climax. The wordplay in the chorus is a little silly, but it's also fun. The hook is really sick, it works well, and it brought the heaviness. It sounds really good, but it's just a little too basic and just generic sounding for me because it just has that whole Architects kind of feel to it. Then we have the song Can't Save You, which keeps that energy going, but it's a little bit more of a pop punk vibe to it, accented with distorted vocals. The chorus is simple, but it's just a little too simple. Verse 2 has a really cool sounding guitar passage that I dare say is a little genty at times, and it just has all this pent up emotion that finally comes out in the bridge, and you can really feel it, and it's probably one of my favorite moments on this album. 2005 is the slow nostalgic song for this album, and I don't typically care for the slow songs on these pop punk post-hardcore kind of albums, but this is so specific and it just drags you in. The chorus, he's reminiscing about 2005 at times when, just things were simpler, and it really, for me, it just takes me back, even though I wasn't doing any of the things that these guys are singing about. I mean, I was about 15 to 16 in 2005, give or take, somewhere around there. And they're singing about running away from cops and drinking and stuff. And I was just hanging out with my friends skateboarding. But the whole atmosphere of this, it just takes me back there, and I really enjoy it. Then we have Sorry About Me, which is another slow acoustic song, but it focuses more on depression and just feeling the weight and the pressure of life in general. The chorus is very vulnerable. The electric guitar and powerful drums fill the second chorus, making it feel even more emotional. The guitar solo was pleasantly unexpected, as there isn't like a whole lot of them on this album, and it worked really well for this song. Take the Ride brings this whole album back around to being really bouncy with rock guitar, specifically in the verse, while the whole chorus basically cuts out at first, making you think it's going to be intimate, but it's not at all. Honestly, this is kind of a weird song. You don't really know what's coming next, and I like that part about it a lot. It's really fun. There's not a lot of depth to it, but the music really just it just makes it so crazy, and I really enjoyed it. I feel like this is one of the more experimental kind of things that they did with their songwriting. It's not quite as straightforward. I mean, it's not, super crazy. It's no like Callous Dowboys or anything like that, but there's just a lot more complexity to this song. And coming in at number 9 on this album, I definitely wasn't expecting it at this point. Then we have the song Knives Out, which has an extremely dynamic riff in the intro, and the chorus brings that riff back, and it sounds so freaking good. And the chorus is full of metaphors that typically sound cliche, but they threw a little twist on them here and there, making them a little bit more original. And the bridge works really great, and the instrumentation just does a good job at building up the song into the final chorus. And that brings us to the closing track, Use Me, which has acoustic guitar. Again, reminds me a little bit of the song 2005. The lyrics show a lot of toxicity, specifically within the relationship, and how he's willing to basically take all of the abuse from this person because they mean so much to him and he just needs them in their life. And all this abuse is detailed throughout the entire album. And it just shows how much this person means to him. But at the same time, it shows how much he probably should just let them go. I don't know. It's tough because it's just, he's so in love with them. And if you go through the album, there is a lot of toxicity popping up here and there. But because of this, he's admitting it, and it's really great, and it works good as a closing track. Because by the time you get to the point in this album, you're like, wow, this is a rough one. And he basically says, yeah, it is rough, and I'm willing to put up with all of it at this point. I really enjoy this album. The mixture of the post-hardcore and pop-punk is fantastic. The production is great. You can hear all the instruments when you need to, but also at the same time, if they want to have a wall of sound that's just huge, their production does what it needs to do at that point. The lyrics are good for the most part. I mean, I wouldn't say that they're lazy. I would say that they're more simple more than anything else. But the music is what wins it for me, specifically the songwriting. It's great considering the genre that this is, and they use a bunch of different stuff, and it just all sounds good. And when they're on top of it and they're really putting in the effort, you can hear it. But there are some songs that I feel like play just a little too safe, specifically the singles. They sound good, but they just sound basic when you mix them in with all the complex stuff. The more complicated songwriting sounds great because of it, but when you hold it next to the things that are a little bit too simple, a little bit too radio play, it makes it more apparent how bad those are as well. And I still really enjoy this album nonetheless. It's just those songs are a little hard for me to make it past. Like, they have a song that literally sounds like What If Story of the Year tried to sound like Architects. And I mean, they pulled it off really well, but yeah, I didn't enjoy it that much. So with all that said, I gotta give Tear Me to Pieces by Story of the Year a 6.6 out of 10. But I want to know what you guys think. Leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of Tear Me to Pieces. Let me know what your favorite song is. Let me know what you would rate it. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to give it a like. If you want to help support me and my channel, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon. I'm about 16 subscribers away from 1,000, which is insane that many people would subscribe to my channel and care enough, at least at one point, to hear what I have to say. And I thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to listen to me talk about music. And I hope you have a good rest of your day or night whenever you have me watching this. And I will talk to you guys next time. I was